If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, joining me right now, and in full disclosure, I'm driving around in my car right now after work, so please keep that in mind when it comes to the audio quality on my end. But I haven't had a chance to talk to this individual before. He's going to take on Marcos Rogerio de Lima on February 23rd as the UFC heads to Prague. The Skyscraper, Stefan Struve, joins us on the Skype machine doing some audio. Stefan, how are you, man?
Yeah, good, man. Just got back home from training. Everything's going well. 2 weeks, about 2.5 weeks out from the fight. Happy with the work I put in, and yeah, feeling good.
That's great. So you talked about a big fight coming up in a little over 2 weeks, and we'll get to that in a moment. But back in December, I was talking to a couple of folks, talking to Eric Kowal. You headed over to Kazakhstan for Titan FC 51. They took their promotion, added some international flair to it, and you were part of that. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it's great, man. It's always fun to visit countries like that, countries that you normally wouldn't really visit as fast. I was able to corner one of my teammates from Holland, and yeah, they did a great job with the show over there. It was a big arena, close to sell out. People loved it. Great fights, great energy. Yeah, it's always there's always a big question mark, of course, when you are that far from home and have never promoted a fight there. But they did a great job, and yeah, it can only get better from here too. So, looking forward to big things for Titan FC in the future.
Yeah, they're a great organization, done some great things. We've had Lex McMahon on the show, we've had Jeff Aronson on the show, and a lot of the different fighters as well. In terms of like visiting Kazakhstan and kind of experiencing the culture and everything over there, what were some of the things that stuck out to you? What were some of the things that you kind of brought back with you that you remember, that you tell your friends about?
I didn't really have the chance to go out and do a ton. Like, we were supposed to go into the mountains and see a little more, but unfortunately I wasn't able to do that. But maybe in the future, because they do plan on going back. People were very nice, very into MMA. Tons and tons of people knew me over there, surprisingly. It was just, it was a great visit there, man.
Very cool stuff, and we look forward to seeing Titan FC back there in the near future, and their upcoming cards coming up soon as well. So Marcos Rogerio de Lima, he's the next guy for you. You're looking to get back in the win column. You talked briefly about getting some work in today, how you're feeling right now. But overall, is everything kind of up to par where it normally is, 2.5 weeks before a fight? How are you feeling physically right now?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, man. I just coming off of a little bit of a flu for the last week, but I'd rather have that right now than the week of the fight. My body's in great shape. I feel I recover very fast. I was out for a couple of days and low on energy, but feeling great now. I had 9 3-minute rounds tonight of kickboxing sparring, feeling great. Lungs were working again, and yeah, everything is good, man. Small little pains here and there, but nothing crazy. So yeah, I'm ready.
It's kind of been a tough stretch for you as of late, with losing 3 fights in a row. It's something you are certainly not used to in your career. What have you learned from this experience, and how motivating is this for you to get back on track in a couple of weeks?
The great thing about this is it's only going to make the win in a couple of weeks feel even better, after losing 3 in a row. And what you say, it's not something I'm used to in my career, but it is what it is, and I've come back from way tougher things than this. I like to look at it as the way that it's only 3 losses, and I get to turn that around in a couple of weeks. I know I got all the skills to beat the guys that beat me in those last 3 fights. Things didn't go my way, but yeah, that's life. So I'm ready, and I'm positive. I'm going into this fight with good energy, and I'm looking forward to getting my hand raised again.
De Lima has been sort of flip-flopping wins and losses over the last few years, coming off a win in his last fight at UFC 230. What are your thoughts on him as an opponent stylistically and in terms of skill set heading into this fight?
I think stylistically it's going to be a fun matchup to watch because he comes to brawl, and I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to come up with his guard up high, and he's going to want to close the distance and make it a war where he tries to like bring me into a slugfest. But of course, that's not what I want. I want to keep the distance, pick him apart from the outside. But I do feel that I have the advantage on the feet and on the ground. So wherever the fight may end up, I feel I'm the better fighter. But he hits like a truck, so definitely don't want to get hit by one of his hooks.
A lot of the newer fighters that I've talked to recently, some of the guys are coming from the regional scene, some were on the Contender Series and made their UFC debut. And, sometimes it goes really well for them. Other times they learn these valuable lessons. They go back home, they change things up, they add some new elements to their training, to their regimens. And, you've been a guy who's been in the game for a while, a lot of fights under your belt. So in terms of preparation, have you changed anything at all heading into this fight?
Actually, this fight, I'm training back home in Holland again. As you said, I was in Kazakhstan the end of December. I couldn't make it into Florida until half of January. I already had a pretty hefty jet lag in Kazakhstan, and coming back, I was still recovering. Then, I'd have to fly out to Florida halfway in January, and then back to Europe halfway in February, dealing with, 2 more jet lags. So that just didn't make sense for me. And it's also good to change things up a little bit now and then. But, I have a great camp in Florida, everything a fighter could wish for over at Hard Knocks with the training partners and the coaches. But same thing here, man. Like I did the first part of my UFC career. I mostly trained here at home, and it's nice to be home. It's good to be here. It's a 1 hour and 15-minute flight to Prague, which is going to be very nice instead of having to travel for a half a day or a full day. I was training in Florida the last 3 to 4 years, and the closest I came to fighting close to Florida was Vegas, but Vegas is still like a half-day travel from Florida. So it's going to be nice to just fly for an hour and 15 minutes and be there.
That's great, man. Who are some of the guys that you're working with in Holland right now to get you ready for this one?
I'm training a lot with Team Musasi, who's got a bunch of big guys for me to work with. It's really good. My old coach, Bob Schreiber, I'm working with a lot, of course. My old training partners over there. And, I'm feeling good, man. Gokhan Saki's training with us a lot, too. I got a ton of great guys there.
So is being back there in a way kind of like a nostalgic feeling? Does it kind of bring you back to when you first got to the UFC a little bit when you trained there as opposed to training in Florida? Although it's a great team, do you kind of have that kind of throwback feel to it?
Yeah, no, it's nice for sure. It's very nice to be home in between training sessions and after training sessions to really relax, and being gone from home always isn't easy, man. You train very hard, and, when you're like 5 or 6 weeks out, you're already counting down the days when you are going to be able to go home too, and there's nothing to hate about South Florida, and it's a great climate. There's a lot of stuff to do, a great team with great coaches, but home is home, so it's very nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm kind of experiencing that as well. Like not even close to the level you're at. One, because you're a professional fighter, and two, you're in Florida, but your home is in another country. But I just moved to like the different part of the state of Massachusetts. So my wife and my son are still back in Western Mass. So I get to see them on weekends, but going through the everyday grind, it's, I don't get to see them every day, and that's a little tough. So I can understand in a way what what that's all about. But in terms of what the UFC looks like right now, the landscape of the company, such a big roster, a lot of cards, moving to ESPN and everything. We'll get to that in a second as well. But with the streak you're currently on, and I know talking to fighters, each fight is equally as important. Each fight's the biggest fight. Each fight is a must win. But is this the ultimate must win for you? Like, do you feel like in a way you're essentially fighting for your job on the 23rd?
Yeah, for sure. It's also the last fight on my contract, so there's really a lot of need for me to win this fight. But on the other hand, every fight you must win. You don't want to lose a fight. Simple as that. You don't want to get hurt. You want to win. Simple. And I need to win. There's a lot more reason for it to win right now than normally, but there's no extra stress, to be honest with you. I feel very relaxed going into the fight. Yeah, that's all there is for me about that.
Cool. So this is the last fight heading into the contract, in your current contract right now. So all goes well. I mean, do you ultimately the dream to stay with the UFC, or are you open to experiencing free agency and seeing what else is out there at this point?
This is going to be my 11th year with the UFC. I had a great career before the UFC too, with like 22 pro fights. I got 22 pro fights with the UFC after this fight too. I'm a company guy. I love the UFC. The first choice is going to be to stay there, but financially is going to have to be interesting, of course. And the market is getting more and more interesting for fighters with other promotions coming up. So although the first choice, of course, is UFC, I'm also willing to listen to offers from the outside to see what the market looks like.
Interesting time in the business for sure. In terms of this fight on the 23rd, how do you see this one playing out? Like, is there any sort of visual that you're seeing in your mind when it comes to this fight? Like when you're about to go to sleep and you're thinking about it, is there a way this fight ends that you're seeing visually? How you see you get your hand raised?
Yeah, I just need to stay on the outside and fight long. Use my kicks to keep them away. I feel I can end this fight both standing and on the ground, and wherever it goes, whatever opportunity shows up, I'm ready to capitalize on both. I've been working a lot more grappling base instead of wrestling base. What we do a lot more in the U.S. versus a lot more grappling over here in Holland, which plays very well for me when the fight hits the ground. I really feel comfortable. I always felt comfortable. It's definitely been nice to work that style I always used to work again. So wherever the fight takes place, both standing or on the ground, I feel ready to finish.
Obviously, a victory on the 23rd will help you take a crucial step in a number of ways. One, because the last fight in your contract, but you already said that, first choice is to stay with the UFC. So if you do stay with the UFC, it takes a nice crucial step up the ladder. You know how the heavyweight division has been over the years. I mean, guys can overcome things pretty quickly with some impressive performances. You stick with the UFC, you win a few in a row, and you're right back in the mix. And of course, Daniel Cormier is the champion right now. His career starting to wind down. You got Cain Velasquez coming back. So, in your opinion, being in the UFC, being in that division, what's your take on the heavyweight division right now, and what do you think it could look like a year from now?
That's what you say. Like a year from now, you get 2 or 3 big wins, you could be in line for a title shot in this division. It's wide open, and everything can go so fast in this division too, because there's so much power. So you never know what happens. What happens in a year, nobody knows. Look, there's been a lot of upsets the last couple of years, and all I care about is that I get back up there. So
it's a good way to look at it. And the road for that begins on February 23rd. Stefan Struve taking on Marcos Rogerio de Lima, UFC Prague, the third event on ESPN Plus, the streaming service. What do you think about the UFC being on ESPN now? I mean, you've been in the sport for a while. You had quite the career before you even came to the UFC, and there's always been a lot of questions, a lot of critics when it comes to mixed martial arts, and now it's on the flagship station here in the United States when it comes to sports. What do you think about this relationship between the UFC and ESPN right now?
Oh, it's definitely good for the sport. Like it was on Fox Sports for a while, which was a big opportunity, and this is even bigger being on ESPN. We don't have ESPN in Holland, so but the rights were bought by a big channel, public channel. So all the fights are shown. The European events are shown live, and the other events are shown in on a Monday night with the highlights. So I can only imagine it being on ESPN in the U.S. is a great thing for the sport, and it's gonna reach an even bigger audience. So.
Yeah, it's huge to see, like, you know, the UFC being featured on Sports Center weekly. It's pretty fantastic. But Stefan, thanks for the time, man. I really appreciate it. Before we let you go, let the folks listening know where, if they haven't already, where to find you on social media, where to find you on the web, shout outs, any sponsors, anything else you want to get off your chest. The floor is yours, man.
Yeah, man, just follow me on @Stefan Struve on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll be posting updates coming closer to the fight. So yeah, do that.
All right, man. All the best to you in Prague, and enjoy the short flight over there. I'm sure that, like you said, that's pretty fantastic stuff, and it makes travel a little bit easier for you. So all the best to you coming up in a couple of weeks, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.